Are there any pastors or podcasts you like? Nope, none. I'm completely infatuated with my own teaching. Yeah, there are a lot. I like variety, so I don't. It's hard to say there's one person. I have a tremendous respect for Rick Warren and what he does. I just think he's been a great witness. Billy Graham, of course. We talk about podcasts. Podcasts are sort of modern people. Probably the one that I listen to the most, it's not so much a pastor, but I think Relevant Magazine does a great job in their podcast. It's a little long, but they're a magazine that does a wonderful job of articulating sort of what's going on in Christianity and what's going on in the culture, and what they are able to do and the conversations they are able to have about that, I always find stimulating. One of the things I do just to keep my brain going, this is something I've done from time to time, is I subscribe to 5 magazines in 5 different fields. And it'll be totally random what they are. Harvard Business Review is usually one, just because I like it so much. But then I'll just read. And so, I'll learn things about art or women's issues or archaeology and just things or economics that I wouldn't otherwise know. And so I really like that. Another thing I do to keep my creativity going, this is getting off topic, but sometimes I'll go to the movie theater and I'll buy a ticket to the next movie, whatever it is, just randomly. And I've seen some really bad movies that way, and I've seen some really great ones. But podcasts, I think, are great today. There's so many resources to keep our faith going. One of the things I'll say is that last Wednesday, we actually did a podcast based on Ask Me Anything from last Sunday, and that Caitlin Bowie Hankins, one of our pastors, and Brandy Horton and I sat down and talked, and even though they are both Duke graduates and therefore somewhat limited academically, we had a really fun conversation, and it's on our website, so I would encourage you to listen to it and see what you think. If you like it, it's something that's easy for us to do more of. It's also an easy way to share the church, and that if you get something valuable out of that, you can share a podcast with somebody. They can listen to it, and if they have a positive experience with us online, they're more likely to come. And so I would encourage you to think about that as a possible evangelism tool. The other thing I like about podcasts is, if you were to ask me where in Houston, Texas, Satan has the most fruitful ground for him, I'd say it's our commutes in our cars, in that Christians just turn into something different when they get on Interstate 45 or I-10. And if we can bring a podcast to drive time, I think that's a way in which some might be saved, shall we say. Let me just think of other, Eugene Peterson, I love his books, and I think as far as if America has a pastor today, I think it's him. On the real academic side, I love N.T. Wright. And then another guy, and he's got a book coming out. In fact, I extended him an invitation to come to First Methodist Houston. We'll see if he does. Bob Goff wrote Love Does. He's got another book coming out, I think, next week, Always and Forever, one of my favorite people. And so I hope those might be some names that you read. But I'll also, just to be honest with you, delve on the heretical side from time to time. I'll read Rob Bell's books. Don't always agree with what he says, but I've never been a person that I like to interact with what I read, and so I'll take them on and see what they have to say, and I find that it always encourages me to think deeper in a different way. But those are some names and some places that I look for inspiration.